lecturer. She's an economist and also, a good lecturer. She has a skill. I'm sure you all enjoyed the session. So she'll be taking us on international trade and other topics. Yes, I'll also be joining at some point, but I'm sure she's very capable of taking us all through, or whatever we need to know. So let's be free, let's engage the discussion. All right, over to you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Please, can you hear me? Can we all hear me?
Ramat, you don't sound okay. Have you used drugs?
Yes.
So, yes.
Just
do your best. Yes, we'll go and watch the YouTube videos of the ones you've done before because you don't sound good.
Don't worry. God no go shame us. It's just the beginning. Once she starts, 10 minutes time now, the energy will come. All right, sir.
Okay, so tonight we'll be looking at international trade. We'll be looking at both the courses treated, the topics treated in class. We treated international trade and the theories. We treated international capital movement, the difference between the FDI and FPI, the factors that determine or that will attract a foreign investor to one's country, then the advantages and the disadvantage, the benefit and the disadvantage of FDI to the host country. Then he also touched. I think that's all from his own part. Then the other lecturer started from balance of payment, foreign exchange, type of foreign exchange regime, where he mentioned the floating and fixed, and debt burden, how to manage financial crisis, then the international organizations. I might not be able to, touch everything tonight. I would have preferred we do it around, we start around 3 or 4, just like the way we had it last semester, because I got home around 9 and I told Abdulrazak that I just want to sleep. And when it is 10, you should wake me up. And thank God Friday saw me when I was leaving today. So, but just accept me the way I am tonight. So, let's just have it in mind that we have to answer 3 questions. And thank God, if you look at the pattern of the questions, it will just tell us answer any 3. Unlike last semester, is answer question 1 and answer one is compulsory, while you can pick any 2. But if you check the exam we had yesterday and today, it is answer any 3. So in this kind of course now, you just look at those points or those areas that you think fine. I'm not saying you should not concentrate on all. You cover all, and you concentrate more on the one that you think you have strength on. If you are reading international capital movement, just read it very well, because I'm not saying it's a sure banker, but of course it does come out. So just make sure anything you are reading, just make sure you understand it well. So if you are to answer even 2 out of 3, just know that that 2 will make you, fly. So if you are doing FDI, which is under international capital movement, You know the advantage to the host country, the disadvantage to the host country, what will attract the FDI to the host country, and the
But you
difference
don't
between
think now.
FDI.
You go go leave TV for now they watch horror film. Abi. Wetin concern me with that?
Please mute yourself.
Sorry.
And the difference between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. So if you know those four under international capital movement, you've been able to answer one. Then
So
international
those of
trade,
us that don't now know those ones, uncle.
we will know it. We will know it. We will know it. We will know it. I'll see if I can take the two tonight. International trade and FDI tonight. So that is under international capital movement. If you can answer that. Then the trade theories, it was the professor that taught us trade theories and the international trade theories and international capital movement. So the trade theories too, if we can know at least, let's say 5, though in some questions, there are 2 trade theories that do come out, though not taught in class, Vent for surplus and Krugman. So if we can know all the trade theories, there can be a shift this time around. And if there is no shift, if the questions are being that same question on the international theory, if it is being repeated, then let's make sure we know Krugman's theory and Vent for surplus. With that one, we've answered another 2, another one, that is 2. Then the third one is either balance of payment, foreign exchange, or debt management, or financial crisis. So that one, you can decide to come from the angle of the foreign exchange rate, all the uh, all the hybrids that comes that comes in between the fixed and the floating regime. That is the crawling peg, the horizontal band, the crawling band, the managed floating and all that. So you might decide to say, okay, we should differentiate between the 3, or you can even tell us to differentiate between the fixed and the floating regime. Then under foreign exchange, there are some factors that are affecting foreign exchange. So that is under foreign exchange. Then under balance of payment, you can tell us to discuss balance of payment, the types of accounts under balance of payment, and under debt too. You can tell us to discuss how debt can be managed, or what results into financial crisis and all that. So if you can just answer any 3 from that 4, at least it is what they taught us in class, and God won't shame us. So thank God there's no calculation. Please, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Ramat, we're with you.
I'm just joining. Didn't really get what you've been talking about. So sorry, everyone.
Okay. What I said is, I'm just looking at a way we can, disintegrate the topics treated in class, and how we can use that to, answer the exam questions, those angles or those areas, those, key points that we need to focus on. So if we are doing international trade theories, let us make sure we know everything on international trade theories. If we know that, okay, as we are going into the exam hall, we want to answer foreign exchange, everything that has to do with foreign exchange, let us know it. If you want to go into the exam hall to answer uh, international capital movement or debt burden, let's just make sure that we know anything we want to go and write, even if it is just 2. We have to answer 3, but if we can answer 2 solid ones, we are good to go. But I'm not saying we should go for two. We should answer all the three, but just make sure that we read and we understand very well. I might not be able to take all the topics tonight because I'm not really that active. So tonight we'll now be looking at international trade, and we all know what international trade is. And can anyone tell me what export? Can anyone tell me the difference between the export trade and import trade? Nobody's saying anything. Okay, there's no
Oh,
problem.
I'm not sure we know.
No, maybe because you didn't hear what I said.
Normal
I
thing
said
with export
Yeah,
and
you asked
normal,
about
usually normal
export
export and
and
normal import. Is it the
I just
same
want to
one?
come in from that. Export is where you're transferring your good or services out of the country. But import is when when you bring in to your country. I just want to start from there. Now, international trade. No, every country is not sufficient. So if they have strength in one particular area, they might not have strength in another area. So that will warrant them to trade. So the exchange of goods and services, between different nations is referred to as international trade. There are so many commodities that are being traded. We have clothes, television, capital goods, raw materials. So, but even Nigeria, the last time I treated international trade, I said, what are those things Nigeria exports and what are those things we import? And somebody even said we import toothpick. You can see how bad it is for Nigeria if we are still, importing the toothpick. So, international trade has to do with, just know that it has to do with exchange. And because we are saying international, it is always across, the international territories. And so let's just be fast about it. And we'll now move to the theories. We have, I said it that this time around, we don't know if he's going to shift from the normal way he has been setting his questions. But he didn't teach us in class. We were not taught Krugman's theory and vent for surplus. But other theories we are being taught. So if we still repeat the same thing, Krugman and vent for surplus, we'll treat that tonight, and that will serve as a buffer in answering the question. So we have absolute advantage, the theory of absolute advantage. We have Echaolin, factor endowment. We have David Ricardo. We have imitation lag, product cycle, vertical specialization, Linda theory, trade gravity, and the reciprocal dumping model. Now, let's take them after the other. Never can tell where it's going to come out. So bullionism, mercantilism, this is a kind of trade that was practiced when the society was uncivilized. And what they were doing then is accumulation of goods. And, they see accumulation of gold as power. So so the desire to accumulate gold, even some of the society can even go to war. So they use the number of golds they have to measure their wealth. So they were not even focusing on, importing of that, exporting of that gold. They don't know that, okay, another business can come out from this. And, so that is what bullionism is just about, the primitive era whereby what they do was just, to accumulate gold. So any activities that will make them to acquire more goods, that is what they'll go for. So let's just quickly move on to theory of absolute advantage. What is absolute? Absolute means complete. Absolute advantage, you have
Sorry,
complete
don't be
edge
angry.
over
The
something.
Bullionism is with the absolute advantage, or is there another one?
No, is another one. I said let's quickly move. So this absolute advantage here, they're just trying to let us know that, okay, if you have a strength in something, if you have a competence in something, why not, go for that thing? Now, we are now looking at trade now between uh, uh, let's consider some products being produced uh, between different countries, and in the class he gave us cloth and wine, and he used Nigeria and France as an example. So you see where the absolute advantage comes in here. Now, what they are considering here is labor. You can see they use R. So in using cloth and wine, Nigeria was able to use 1 hour to produce a yard, and they use 4 hours to produce 1 barrel of wine. So France used 2 hours to produce yard of cloth, and they use 3 hours to produce 1 barrel of wine. Now, if you look at this, what he gave us in class, Nigeria actually used 1 hour to produce a yard. France used 2 hours. You can see that it takes Nigeria, lesser time in getting a yard. But in the angle of production of wine, Nigeria took 4 hours to produce wine, and France took 3 hours to produce wine. In this scenario now, Nigeria has an absolute, advantage in producing clothes than wine, because wine, in producing wine, it will take them 4 hours, and you can even see the difference. But France, it will take them how many hours? It will take them 3 hours to produce wine. So it is better France, takes wine. They should concentrate on wine because of the number of hours involved, and Nigeria should focus on clothes because of the shorter uh, duration. So you just have to uh, just in this case now, a country should just focus on the trade in which they have a complete advantage on. Don't mix it up for comparative advantage. What I'm saying you should not mix it up for comparative advantage is, in comparative advantage, Nigeria will be able, and a country, let's say we are comparing two countries, a country will be able to do more than the other country, let's say we are using labor, they will be able to do more in both. Let's say we are using cloth and wine again. The number of hours to produce wine is lesser than that of France. The number of hours that Nigeria will use to produce clothes, it is lesser than that of France. But if you look at, in order not to, stress or use unnecessary, labor, or use the labor anyhow, why not focus on the one they have much strength on? Unlike the other one, they don't have competence, they don't have strength in both, in the production of both. But in this one, they have strength in the production of both. Then they will now look at the one, if let's say they have Nigeria, it takes them 5 hours to produce cloth, 4 hours to produce wine. Then let's say okay, let me use Fidat and then Oju. Let me say Fidat uses 5 hours to sew clothes. Fidat uses 4 hours to cook rice. Peju uses 7 hours to sew clothes, 6 hours to cook rice. If you check the hours Fidat use, when if you add it together, it is lesser than what Peju use. But in this case, Fidat will concentrate on the one that she knows that she will spend lesser hour on. So if it is cooking of rice that will take her 5 hours and sewing of clothes will take her 4 hours, she would rather concentrate her energy on 4 hours that she will use in sewing clothes. So that is what theory of comparative advantage is saying. So here, he used Nigeria and France as an example again, and he used production of clothes and wine. So that said, Nigeria uses 90 hours to produce a yard, 80 hours to produce a barrel of wine. 90, 80. But France uses 100 hours to produce a yard and 120 per hour to produce a barrel. So in this case now, you can see that 90 hours is lesser than 100 hours. 80 hours is less than 120 hours. So Nigeria can decide to do what? Can decide to produce cloth and wine. But in order not to waste resources, why not let them concentrate on the one they have lesser hours on? So in this case now, Nigeria will focus on wine production because it will take them 80 hours. And France will focus on clothes because it will take them 100 hours to produce a yard. So so what they're just saying that a country should specialize on what they know they have advantage on. And so are we together? I don't know if I'm the only one here.
We're
Yeah, we're
getting
here.
it.
Okay, so factor endowment theory. We are looking at endowment. Now, he will be looking at capital, we'll be looking at labor. Now, what here is saying is any country that is endowed with capital will produce capital intensive goods. Any country that is endowed with labor will produce what? Labor intensive goods. Like Nigeria now, we have that labor, we don't have that capital. So we rather focus our strength on labor intensive and producing labor intensive goods. And another country that has that capital like US, they focus on producing capital intensive goods. So capital is a factor of production, labor is a factor of production. So they use capital and labor as this as the endowment we are talking about here. So he also use Nigeria and France. Now okay, Nigeria produces, yam. They are just trying to let us know that a country should trade with one another. If I'm lacking, if I'm not sufficient in this, I can always get from you. You can always get from me. So France, in this case here, can produce phone because they have that capital. They have that technology and all that. But Nigeria does not have that capital. But they can produce them. They have that labor to produce them. And France too is ready to eat. Let's say they are ready to eat the yam, and Nigeria are ready to use the mobile phone. So in this kind of scenario, the countries, both countries will trade with each other. Are we together?
Can you repeat, please?
I didn't get that.
I said, can you repeat what you just explained? Capitalizing on what?
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody can repeat what I just said.
Okay, so I don't know, to the best of my knowledge, for the factor endowment theory, first thing that you mentioned was that there's labor and that there's capital. And you said that both labor and capital are factors of production. So now you now said that any country that is endowed with capital will produce capital intensive goods, and any country that is endowed with labor will produce labor intensive goods. So you now said example of Nigeria. Nigeria will produce yam, and then France producing phone. This is because Nigeria has labor, so they can afford, like they have the capacity to produce yam because they have the labor it takes. While France has the capital to produce phone, which is an advanced product. So now these two nations will now come together and they will exchange these goods that they both produce. That's what I got.
Thank you for that. I just want why please who asked the question? I just wanted to why apologies that I asked Faida to answer. I just want to know if we've been following, understand, and maybe I've not explained it well, and to also know if any if we understand what I am understood what I've been saying. So I don't know if you now get it, sir.
Yeah, it's okay, fine. Just continue.
So what did you get, sir? I'm with you, sir.
Go on, I'll
I'm
read
with
it
you,
up.
sir.
I don't want to draw us back. I will just read it up.
That means you still didn't get it. Do you want me to go back? Do you want me to say it from my end?
Okay.
Please go back. Please go back. Oh.
Okay. Now, well, factor endowment theory. We are looking at what a country is being endowed with, and we are just looking at two factors of production. We are looking at capital and labor. So if a country is endowed, if they have enough capital, they will focus on capital intensive, goods. And um, capital intensive goods that we are talking about. We're talking about machinery. We're talking about television, freezer. So many things that a phone, cars that will involve capital. And another factor of labor considered here, another factor of production considered here is labor. So you can imagine that if you have capital, what you do is you produce more of that. You produce more of that capital goods because you use your capital to get what you want. But in a situation whereby your other friend has, he doesn't have that money, but he has the number of people, he has that labor. So you two can now come together that, okay, there's no problem, don't worry. You know what? I have the capital. I am producing this. I know you don't have that money. Okay, let me, import this. Let me give you this. Then the other friend too will say, okay, I know that you don't have the labor, to produce this, and I know that you don't have it. Why not let us, have a kind of trade between us? So you that you have the capital, you trade with that person that has, labor, and the person that has enough labor will, trade with the person that has enough capital. So I now the man now use France and Nigeria. France has that capital to produce capital intensive goods like phones. And Nigeria, they have that labor to, get farm produce because of our geographical location, because of our climate and all that. So we have enough food crops, and also, we have enough laborers that will go into that farming. So in that case, the France will want to trade with us, maybe because they want to get some of our food produce, and Nigeria too, we trade with France because we needed phone produced by them. So in that case, both countries will trade together. Are we together, sir?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm satisfied. Okay. So now, imitation lag hypothesis. That's another uh, theory. So there are some things a developing country can
Sorry,
afford.
imitation what, please?
Imitation lag.
Okay.
Imitation or limitation?
Imitation lag hypothesis.
Okay.
Okay, here, before reading through the notes, what this one is just saying is, just look at that word, imitation lag. So what they are just saying is, gold. We have real gold, we have Romania gold, and we have Panda. Because FIDA is putting on gold, I can tell China to help me produce that same gold. It is not gold, but because I can tell them to help me imitate that kind of version. Are you with me? I can tell them to, okay, help me imitate this. I also want this gold. That is why, before now, most of the phones, when GSM newly came out, phones were expensive. Nokia 3310, this Motorola, when they newly came out. Then later, due to research and development, another product, sprung up, like Samsung, like iPhone, and which other one? But China with Techno, all the things you're doing on iPhone, you can also do it on Techno phone. So that is where the imitation comes. As if I can't use your iPhone, if iPhone is producing this kind of sophisticated phone, China too will say, okay, don't worry, maybe you too you want to use phone, abi you want to do WhatsApp, you want to do video call, we'll do a kind of phone for you that you'll be able to use. That is where you see Techno, you see IPO, IPPO, you see Akata, those different phones like that. What they are doing is they are imitating, the other product. So when sophisticated products are being produced, it is due to research and develop. Look at iPhone; it is very expensive, and they know that okay, the cost of producing this they will get it from the citizens, maybe due to the per capita income. They know they have the money. They will, of course, they will get their cost, back from the buyers. So that is what imitation lag hypothesis just means, that okay, fine, if we can't use this, we can always produce something, something similar that we can use. So if Samsung is, let's say, 100,000 and Technophone is 40,000 naira, and they will do the same function. Though if you hold it at hand, of course, the difference that Samsung, does better work than Techno. But because you just want that WhatsApp call, you want that, you want to chat, you want to do everything online, you want to search, you want to Google online, you can always get that on Techno phone too. So I think that simply uh, explain the imitation lag uh, hypothesis. So here they are considering technology in producing a product. They are considering research. They are considering because of that gap, because of that gap in, because technology, in the technology you have here in Nigeria, you can't compare it to that of China and all that. So because we want to enjoy also, uh, uh, trade with other country that can give us, something cheaper. I don't know if we get that point, that part.
No, please, can you repeat again?
Okay, what was it that you didn't get there?
The last one, the hypothesis.
Does anyone? You said?
Can you repeat the last thing you said? After
Ramat,
explaining
this is
imitation
Kafila. I'm
lag.
very lost. I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
You know what? Let's just continue. I would have loved, I would have loved us to be on the same page, but if we continue like this, we might not be able to cover much. Maybe we'll start again around 4. But let's just continue, and then, because if you say you don't understand, we'll go back. Another person will say doesn't understand. Though my joy is for everybody to be on the same page. Now, what I'm saying, I don't know if now let me use okay, how do I how do I how do I start? Okay, imitation lag. What I used when imitation lag is what really brought about imitation lag was because there was a gap in technology. Are you with me? There was a gap in technology, uh, and there's this demand for that product that has a that it is produced through technology or produced through research and then development. So somehow this technology gap exists, between the time these products are imported, to the domestic user. Now, what I'm just trying to say is where the imitation comes in here is I use Technophone. If we can't afford Samsung, if we can't afford iPhone, and iPhone, due to the research and development, so many things you can do on iPhone aside WhatsApping, aside video conferencing and all that. So Techno now felt okay, if other developing countries, if they can't afford to get this, let us do something similar. At least if we do something similar, they too they'll be able to enjoy what they feel they don't have. So that's why I use typical example of Techno and iPhone. And because of that technology, then China will now produce different Techno P1, Techno P5, Techno uh, which other one? Itel Pro Max. You understand? So because of that technology, you want to have what others are also benefiting. And you see this technology, how they get their the countries, they trade with, they produce it just because they know, okay, the cost will get it from the citizens of this country, let's say developed country, because let's consider their per capital income, they have the money to buy it. And those that does not have, the country that does not have the money to buy it will produce something similar for them, will imitate what is being produced. So what is just here is they are just looking at, it's just that they are just analyzing two different countries, one that has technology and the one that does not have technology. So
Ramota, can you hear me?
Prof.
Okay, so sorry. This so on my notes, I'm saying R&D effort. Does since we are saying that new products will be developed, that's imitation lag hypothesis. So are you looking at uh, um, capital and labor? Because like you explained,
I'm looking
that
at here we are looking when you're talking about imitation gap theory or imitation gap hypothesis, we are looking at technology, and that is where research and development comes in.
oh, okay. I was just wondering what's the meaning of R&D effort.
Research and development.
Oh, research and okay, thank you.
Are we together?
Looks
So,
like maybe it's still not so clear.
okay. You
Also,
see,
to understanding, just like you mentioned about, I don't know, maybe I should switch this my background. Okay, so it looks like there is a technology gap. So let me do something about my review. So it looks like, am I audible? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rasak.
Okay, so it looks like this theory or hypothesis considers the case in like two countries, maybe perhaps one developed than the other in a global village. But in the course of developing a product, yes, technology is used, but again, this technology is not what it seems to be available everywhere. So if it takes, for example, the iPhone, is being produced, for example, in US, by the time, say Nigeria wants to say, okay, US produces iPhone, good. We too want to produce iPhone. The time is going to take for you to do your research and all that, come up with the technology. Yes, event will have overtaken that product. Ramat, is that what it is?
yes, it is also part of what it is. What you've just mentioned, because when it comes to innovations, when it comes to inventions, that is what gives rise to uh, to trade. And considering the what you just mentioned now, that of iPhone, both countries, let's say the developed and the developing countries now, they have similar demand, but it's just that there's a there are different techniques that have been involved in the involved between the two countries. So and just like you said, that the time taken for the other firm to produce a product, might be, it also it signifies the time that will be also required for the other producer, to produce something of such in their market. So even the demand too also matters here. There's also demand lag too. That is the time taken for the time taken by the domestic consumer to acquire that new product. So what is just simply means is there's a gap, and what is that gap? It could be in form of technology, and it could also be in form of demand. And when we're talking about imitation lag, we are considering innovation and then invention. So That is just it. So if you can't meet up with the speed, if you can't meet up with the technology of one country, why not do something similar? Why not imitate it? At least you use that to cover, that gap in the market.
Sorry, can I say I had something? Sorry. Okay, so I'm looking at the policy. I think he's actually talking about the fact that you might not be able to imitate because the imitation time, which is the lag, takes this into consideration. And based on the assumption that, yes, just like I use the iPhone now, if we have to say we want to produce that iPhone in Nigeria, it means we need to consider what you go into the research and development, what you go into, what kind of technology you use, the sourcing of the inputs. So process of requesting or sourcing for your inputs that you use in producing that. Also, what's the other thing? Again, finally, I'll say, okay, yes, even the demand in the market, yes, it will range between a particular time and a time. So iPhone, if Nigeria is trying to do iPhone 13 now, today, it means to start knowing, the next thing you start sourcing to get, to do your research and development, to get the technology, to know how to operate that technology, to also source for the inputs that are used in producing that thing. So all this time that's going to take to do all these things, my friend, iPhone 1, or you might even be the period where you're doing iPhone 3. That's when you are about to say you want to produce iPhone 1. So there is no market for that product again. So that lag, I think, is what they are considering, the limitation, the imitation lag hypothesis. So I think, for me, that's what I think is the main issue in this theory.
Okay, can we go ahead?
Okay, so I hope it's clear to everyone.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
Rasak, you're talking about if not able to meet up with imitation, and then what happens?
yeah, it's an advantage. It's an advantage for the producer, the country that has that edge. So it's as good as, that's why, for example, we can produce a phone that is like iPhone today, and we are not bothering about ourselves about going into such. So that's maybe for me one of the reasons why you don't see a country like her saying we want to produce a phone like iPhone. No. So we leave that for China, who has gone ahead to do more of R&D technology, and has, the inputs that can use to go into such, and that's why the China is producing maybe like maybe Intel, and the likes.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can move to the next one.
What next? What do we have there? I'm trying to look at my.
Sorry?
I'm trying to look at what we have next.
Okay. I think it's the product life cycle. Or product cycle theory.
Okay, that's what we that's what we have next, right?
Yeah.
Okay. in this one now, it's telling us that.
Sorry, please, we didn't hear the name of the theory you are taking now. Sorry.
Product life cycle theory.
Product life cycle theory.
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Okay, so in this theory now, we'll be looking at how trade moves from one, particular stage to another stage, and how a product is being produced to be consumed. There's no export. We have three three stages here. So they look at the first stage, whereby the product is produced and consumed in Nigeria. There's no export. And you now look at the second stage, which is the maturing product stage. So in this stage, there's an expansion. You produce for yourself, and you also produce what you can also export out. Then we have the last stage, where the export also later becomes import. I don't know if that's how we have it in the text, in the note. That is, there are three stages. That is what they are saying. The first stage, the product being produced, it is being consumed at home, no exports. Then there's another stage. The first stage is the new product stage. The second stage is the maturing product stage. So at this stage now, there's mass production. So they produce what they want, what they can consume. They will also produce what they can export out. Then the third one is when what they've produced, they are now also importing, what, excuse me, please, what they've produced. I don't know, Abdulrazak, if I have explained that part. Maybe you can, add one or two things, because I've not read. So I don't know if you can just add one or two things.
You said
because in the first stage, because why it is like that? People out there country they want to export to, they are unaware of that product, and so what they just produce, let them consume it, let them use it here. You understand? Let's say they have a new product, and so what they do is let that new product, let them produce it here and let them consume it here, and there's no need for export for now, because the people out there are not aware of it. But as your home market, as they now begin to see that, okay, I think we now sell more of these products, we even have enough that we can sell here in home, and we also have enough that we can also trade. So that is where the second stage comes in. So, and there's something called what's it called? So in this case, case now, since there is mass production, there's economies of scale, right? They now produce more with lesser, amount. So that is where they can now say, okay, we can consume what we have. We can also, out of the surpluses, we can also use, to trade.
Grandma, this
Then
third one is confusing. I guess stage 1 and stage 2,
okay.
but this third one, I'm not getting it.
Okay, now.
Or if you can get an example for stage 3.
Yes, don't worry. We'll get it. At the maturity stage now of that life cycle, the product is now known, and many consumers are using it, and the demand level has increased. Even the sales too has increased. Are you with me? And you now have several competitors. So I even use that of what did I even use when I used I cited one example to buttress this. If there's a new product, there will be a demand, and because there's a demand by the developed country or by the high income country, you export to them. So by so doing, they too, because of development, they will transform that product and send it back to you. You understand? They will have reformed that product again and send it back to you. I don't know if you get that example.
Can you give us a
Does crude oil fit into this analysis?
I think that was what I I think I used that similar example. I use crude oil. So many products, when crude oil is being refined, you get so many products from it. So if you export crude oil, when they would have, refined it, maybe they get bagasse or biogas from it. You said what?
I think for me, I'll use cocoa as example.
Somebody is saying something. Let's be on the same page.
I said I'll use cocoa.
I said
Cocoa.
okay.
Cocoa.
Yes, you can use cocoa. At least they bring it back to you as chocolate.
And that's what stage? The third stage?
Yes.
This is stage 3, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Can I just do a small recap as per what I can get from this theory?
Yes, sir.
You started by talking about the product life cycle theory. This has to do with this talks about how trade moves from one stage to another and how products are being consumed. And then on this theory, we have 3 stages. The first stage is the product stage, which is usually
the new
product stage. Okay, the new product stage. Okay, where products are being produced and consumed at home with no export. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Then the second stage talked about the maturing product stage, where the product are being produced and then
in mass.
Okay, being produced in mass and consumed and also exported. Correct me, please.
Yes, because of because of the expansion, they are not only producing for themselves. What they produce, they also have it in excess.
Okay,
So
now you have it in
they
excess,
can,
so that you can,
yes, so
export.
they can now export it, and other countries too, they now have the idea that, okay, I think we want a demand for this your product.
Okay, okay. And then the third stage is the
Yes.
standard product
So
stage.
yes, so
Okay, I think that's the part I need to get now. The third stage.
and then the third stage is just like completing the cycle of that product.
Okay, the
Before
process.
there was no export. Before there was no, they were only producing and consuming, no export. Then at the other stage, because of expansion, they are now exporting. Then the third stage, then what they've exported, they are now importing it. And a friend used that of cocoa. Maybe at the initial stage when they were producing, when they discovered cocoa here, you understand, maybe they don't have the technology, or they don't have the technique to produce in large quantity, or even the other countries might not be even aware that they have that kind of item in that country. So once now that when there is now an export, they can now transform and refine that product and also bring it back. So it is always between the developed and the developing country. So if the developed export to the developing country, if they now export it to developed country will pancake it, and the developing country will import it to their side.
All right, so we can say a good example of that is Nigeria producing cocoa and then exporting to America. And then in return, America use the cocoa to they refine and then produce chocolates. And then we also, yes, chocolate, and then send it back to, we now, import it, the chocolate also.
Yes, so the cycle has been completed.
Oh, okay, that's a complete cycle stage. All right, okay, I think I get that. At least I can do a little explanation on my own. All right, you can go on, thanks.
Steve.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
You will teach me. Oh.
They follow you, sir.
You will teach me. Oh. Nice
they
one, people.
You. So you are here too. Well done, sir.
So when we are looking at, we'll be looking at which other one? Vertical specialization based trade. And here is we can let me say, okay, let me not divert. Let me just use the example he gave in class. And the example he gave was, okay, he used China as an example, a country. Now, a China-made phone, China might not have every software, to produce that phone. But once they can trade with another country, maybe to get one panel, they'll trade with another country to get, Microsoft, the microprocessor, some chips and all that. So once they now couple everything together, then they'll now say, okay, this product is actually made in China. I don't know if you get that simple explanation. So in this case, you I want to picture, I want to bring out, it's just that what they do is they pull resources from different, countries. And when these resources are being coupled um, together, uh, what how do I call it? If you use if you use imported material to create a good and you now export it, that is what vertical specialization is just talking about. You import, I import different goods. I create something from those imported goods. I export it back. So here we are considering the final goods. So before we can get final goods produced by Nigeria, we need to link with other countries. We need to link some goods from other countries. I don't know if you get what I just explained now.
Yeah, this one is straightforward.
Yes, we do.
Putting resources together for production and then exporting to other countries.
Shikena. When you're now putting those resources together, you want to use it to get a final good. You want to use it to produce a final product. Then once you have it, you can now, the China phone that I use as an example, they actually put resources from different countries. They imported it from different countries that is not China. So once they were able to produce that China phone, they did what? They exported it to Nigeria.
All right.
So all the materials that made up Technophone, itel phone, not all the materials were gotten in China. Some of the materials were imported, coupled together in China, and exported it out. So since we can, which other one? Okay.
Is it possible for us to do the Krugman and the vent for surplus?
Okay, the vent for surplus. It was formulated by Adam Smith, and it's also looking at when a country produces more than it can produce, as in more than what they can consume. What happens? Of course, you have some things that are left over, which is the surplus. Now, there is something called please remind me. I'm coming. Let me see if I can. Okay. Yes. There's something called production possibility frontier. So this one is the amount of product. Are you with me? That there's a varying amount of two products that can be produced when these two products depend on a finite resources. And this one is saying that in that production frontier curve, if one commodity increases, are you with me? It might, decrease the production of the other commodity. Let me not take us far. What vent for surplus is just telling us that when a country, if you produce more than what you can consume, then it produces what? a surplus. That's just with that one, you're fine. And because of that surplus, it will around what? It will around trading.
So are you talking about what you explain now with the production thing? Is it like a situation of opportunity cost, where the one that you let go
That is
is the opportunity cost for the one that you produced? Is that what you're saying?
pardon?
I'm saying that what you just explained now.
Because she only wanted to make,
Okay.
I mean, to use that as an example, but PPC is not relating to what we are doing. So she said you should drop that. So while she
Oh, okay,
explains
because I was getting confused. Thank you.
Are we still talking about vertical specialization trade, based trade?
No, we're not talking about vertical. I think Frida asked about something else.
All right.
So what?
So, yes. Hello. Okay. So, how do I explain this, Krugman? You know, different different products. How do I've not read it, but I just know that okay, there's always a preference from one product. You said?
I was asking if Krugman is among.
What time?
Krugman, what I said it. I said Krugman's theory is not part of what he taught us. But in the past question, I repeatedly have seen Krugman and bent for surplus. So if we're able to answer it, that would just serve as a buffer rather than ignoring it in the exam. So if we know imitation lag, if we know dumping model, if we know trade graffiti and all that, and the other two comes out, we'll be able to answer it. I don't know if you get that part. So that was why I brought the crop. Funny enough, I've not even read it, but I know there was one time I read it that okay, when there's a preferential, what's it called? When there's a preference between different products in different countries. Please let's just read that up because we spent more than 1 hour on trade. International, then trade graffiti, that is countries will trade with another country that shares similar, maybe income, maybe the same taste and all that, and you use that of Nigeria and then Cameroon. They are not developed as such, so let us just trade between ourselves. So that one is them. Then the dumping, is it dumping? What is it? Dumping something. That one, most companies, if they want to gain market, that is what they do. They will come into the market. They take for example, this our own local market. Coca-Cola has been here before Biggie Cola. Biggie Cola, let's assume Biggie Cola is not even produced here in Nigeria. Maybe it's produced in another country. Let's assume. So Biggie Cola came in and they gave Coca-Cola threat of their life. What they first did is by the size of their pet, the pet was actually, bigger than that of Coca-Cola. Then the price, as at that time, Coca-Cola was selling at 150. Biggie Cola, they are selling at 100 naira. And
Sorry,
even
Ramat, are we still in
Biggie
trade
Cola,
gravity?
no, there's another one, dumping mobile. That's why I said you should help me check dump. I've done trade graffiti. There's dumping model. So I want to know if the correct what's it called? The correct name of the is it dumping model or dumping something? That's what I want to know.
It's
Reciprocal dumping model.
dumping.
Dumping model.
Reciprocal dumping model.
Thank you. Reciprocal dumping model. So I'm now using that of Coke and Biggie Cola. As at that time, Biggie Cola came in, they gave Coca-Cola, they gave them problem. By the size of the pet of Biggie Cola was more than that of Coke. Even the price of Biggie Cola was lesser than that of Coke. So when new industries, if they want to gain market, that is what they do. They will bring down the cost. They will bring down the price. Though sometimes it can be risky. So because they want to enter a country, they will reduce the price. And later, once they see that they've gained the recognition, they now have the relevance and all that, then they will now bring the price up. So that is just the little I understand about the dumping, the reciprocal dumping model. And the trade gravity is...
Okay, you want to talk about trade gravity?
Abdulrazak, add anything.
Okay, the reciprocal dumping model.
No, Abdulrazak, go with trade gravity theory first. Please.
Please, when did she explain Linda theory? Because I didn't hear.
The Linda
I've not explained Linda. I see all this theory. I'm just saying it often.
Okay, sorry. I said that because I saw it in the chat. I saw it in the chat. That's why I was wondering when you said it.
No. I've not treated the Linda's the theory. I only touched.
Okay, so hello.
I only touched trade gravity. That I said countries will trade with each other. Country that they know that okay, we are managing. This is our capacity. This is our strength. Why not let us trade with each other? You understand? So looking at Nigeria and Benin Republic, based on the per capita income of their citizens, they know that okay, it is not high. We can actually trade, and looking at the resources, looking at the geographical location and all that. So all those ones are considered. They can also okay, let us trade with each other.
Okay, but sorry, it looks
So
like for the per capita income is for Linda theory. When country considers the taste and income of the citizens, so which I think will relating to the PCI, the per capita income. But I think for the trade gravity, it considers the country as a sovereignty, trading based on the geographical location and also their economy. So
considering countries as well?
Sorry?
You said considering countries as...
Okay, country as a sovereignty. For example, Nigeria considering, how do I say it? Being a third world country, you're looking at your size and your location where you are. You're in Africa and you are trying to trade with those who are your neighbor, geographical location. So I think that relates to the trade gravity. But for the Linda theory, I think the country considers the income of the citizen and their tastes.
Abdulrazak,
I'm
maybe
sorry, oh, please,
I
you know that
didn't.
there are some of us that were not sound in this particular course. People have lost us because we're now mixing up Linda and trade gravity.
No. Don't mix it together. Don't mix it together. Don't mix it together. You know why? Linda theory and trade graffiti. What I thought I was explaining the trade graffiti, I shouldn't have used the income. I would have just used the geographical location or the economy. Those two, yes, those two, the two countries that are closer together, they will consider trading with each other. But the Linda theory now is considering, the taste, is considering also the income, if they have this income to actually consume this product. So then let us mix it together. Abdulrazak, thank you. You can continue.
Okay, so for the reciprocal dumping model, I think you explained well, but I think the example you used may somehow be, how do I say it, fault sort of, because at the time, taking Biggie Cola also, at the time it was introduced to Nigeria, it wasn't coming from, how do I say, it wasn't coming from another country to acquire the share of the market. I think based on the explanation I
You
had,
know why I use Biggie Cola? Why I use Biggie Cola? Fine, Biggie Cola is being produced by, is it Chivita or something? I just use that so we can get exactly.
Biggie Cola is produced by Right, so
It's
Right,
right, not a Nigerian company.
there's an indigenous firm. In this case, you're talking about.
I just use an indigenous what's it called? I just use indigenous what? I just use that as an example. It's actually a firm coming from outside to do that in our own country. You understand? But I just use Biggie Cola as an example, so the kind of threat they'll give to the domestic yes, to the domestic product we have here, and how they intend to gain the market. Though the cost, because they have it elsewhere, they can, yes, they actually want to get that market. Though it is risky too, but at the same time, if they can gain that relevance, then they are good to go.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Abdulrazak, I need to sleep now.
Yeah, I've even tried. Thank you
Continue.
so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Around 4 a.m.